I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero. Could you imagine if I sang the whole 6 minutes of this talk? Anyone who knows me can actually imagine that quite easily. But as I was cut from an Oak Cut musical, I'm actually not gonna do that to you. So that is my gift to this audience. Kia ora koto, Tristana Bessler, Tokuna. Very nice to be here, and thank you, Deloitte, for hosting and for the lovely folks joining me here on stage. The hat that I wear, I hail from Databricks. I'm the public sector industry lead, so I work with central government, local government, and education across about 25 organizations here in Aotearoa. We have a team here in Wellington as well, helping me for executing that. Now, working with the 25 odd or so, the organizations aren't odd, but 25 or so organizations who are largely trying to do quite similar things from a modern data platform point of view, but it seems that they all kind of do things quite differently. So the lessons learned that I get from those 25, I hope to bring to you. Some things are done quite well, some things have some room for improvement. When we start conversations from a Databricks point of view, especially coming from the public sector realm here in Wellington, usually the first couple weeks are excited about AI. Databricks is really in a leading position from an AI Gartner quadrant performance kind of view. After those two conversations or a couple weeks of chats on AI, boy, the next 6 months we are talking about governance, every way, shape, or form, technical governance, hopefully people governance, how they as an organization define governance, every which way, often and often, which is great. It's crucial to the foundations that you have. AI, again, it's that shiny piece. There's so much you can do with it, but your AI is only going to be as good as your data hygiene, and then the piece of that, of course, is the governance that you have in place. So this morning I was having a wee strut thinking, what would I tell some fine folks in a room that would be A, worth their time, and B, hopefully memorable. The singing was the first thing that came to mind. I was like, what is going to be memorable? So it was, we'll see how much you remember. But then I thought of something from primary school, which is the notion that we need to be reminded more than taught. So some of this might be a reminder to you and principles that you already execute from a governance and people governance side, and some of it might be new. So whatever it may be, enjoy. You are here to hear about governance. We might hear a bit from a technical governance side of the view, but I'm actually going to stick strictly to the people governance side, more specifically psychological safety. Boy, do I have time to talk about psychological safety in public sector and in the realm of tech and execution. Psychological safety, I think, is most often forgotten when it comes to a technical landscape, and it really does actually tangibly impact whether or not technical solutions are successful, and we'll talk about that, because that psychological safety and the emotional intelligence that feeds into it is whether or not your technical solution is going to be logistically adopted. So we might hear some about tech governance this week for NZ Tech Week, but I'll focus here on people governance. Just as a level set, people governance, that's really the how I define it, is that voice of participation. It's your strategic vision, responsiveness, adaptability. How do people lean in, and how are they accountable? I summarize that more holistically as change management. For the project managers in the room, you can throw tomatoes at me after for paralleling the two. But the change management plus the psychological safety that I view is your org in a mental state, in a capacity to be open to change? Is the environment one where folks aren't on edge or fearful because of that? To define psychological safety, which I hope you all have in your lives, in your workplace, that means that you're included, you feel you're in a space to learn, to ask questions, maybe even push back or challenge what the status quo is. Where does that actually fit in for this conversation? Tech governance, people governance, psychological safety. I would arguably say that technical governance is the easiest part of creating a digital solution. Folks who have executed technical governance can welcome disagree with me, but my view, seeing a lot of this done, is that the architecture is out there, the APIs are out there, the connectors, the well-architected frameworks to guide you. There is context and pieces to pull from. Even if you don't use the full suite of it, there are things that can get you probably 70 or 80% there that you can go on. I think what becomes particularly tricky with a technical adoption and from the governance space is when you go from legacy and you're trying to calibrate to a future-proof state, or not even future-proof, just making progress, right? P is for progress, not perfection. That's another one-liner I use a lot as we progress things in government. And with that vision of the future, the technical implementation, it could be explicitly and architecture-wise successful. But if it fails on the business user side and adoption, then maybe it wasn't actually as successful of a project as you had hoped it would be. And that's largely because folks aren't taken on the journey. I roughly, loosely parallel this to you build a castle. And if you build that castle and no one comes when you throw a party, what's the point of the castle? If you are more of an isolationist, then perhaps that is an ideal castle situation for you, to have no one show up. But the parallel is that if you build it, will they come? So making sure that you take folks and you invite them in early and often. So the legacy transitions that we see, or at least I specifically see, is really relying on emotional support, having the safety to ask questions, having the opportunity, more so, to ask those questions. And that's quite important, whether it's technical users, but especially business users, is because across industries, but even more so in the realm of tech, there's this interesting notion of logo loyalty, where folks really are up in arms about which color jersey they're putting on regarding their business intelligence tooling or their data platforms or their clouds. It might seem silly in a SaaS or PaaS capacity to have that kind of reaction to a logo or to a logo change, but I really invite you to take a step back, because when you think of folks' jobs and their day-to-day and what that security looks like, they understandably parallel their capacity to do their job, keep their job, and execute on their job really well with knowing the tools and systems that they do. So if you are introducing a situation where you're going to change those systems and tools, even if you think it is the best thing since sliced bread, even if it actually is going to make things better for them, if it's happening to them, not with them, you're putting them in a pretty fraught position, actually. So just calibrating with that expectation and experience for people. It's great that you are looking to make improvements. Speed should not be an enemy, but it does need to be thoughtful. It does need to include people. That said, if your logo loyalty is to Databricks, I 100% have stickers. So I will come find me after this. I have stickers for you. But that brings me to my first platitude of the evening, which is that people are okay with change. They just don't like being changed. This is not a Tristana original, but it's the notion that being happens to, not happens with. So how can you do things with people? More tangibly, I've seen this as a solution for technical and business people leaders. They've kind of held internal town halls or meetups of sorts. This understandably can raise a lot of feedback that you sure as heck didn't want to receive, but the reality is those inputs and those opinions are actually going to be shared in the hallways, either whispered or shouted at you either way. So you might as well create that environment, bit of a due diligence, if you were, to have those inputs. A couple things could happen coming off of that. You could learn something you didn't know, a piece you didn't consider, right? Folks that have been on tools for 6 months to 6 years to 16 years in some organizations in government. Valid feedbacks, right? Talk about user experience and what it looks like and what they actually need. You may not be influenced at all, but at least you've provided a space for conversation. There's catharsis and that emotional support and having an arena to share. So if anything, you've provided that space. It's kind of a takeaway for that piece of the puzzle. Invite, inquire, and include. Rarely are we worse off in this life for having more context. I would even say data, but it's all pieces of the puzzle to inform what a best yes looks like for your organization. In terms of more tangibly, what else to do about it if you are in this position executing within your organization? Show incremental value early. Demo, make it really tangible to your business users, make it tangible to your technical users too. Get them excited in seeing what it is that you're doing and doing it incremental value, right? That's why I somewhat facetiously say P is for progress, not perfection. but what we're going for is progress. Some folks go for good enough, right? It's making those leaps and bounds. Other thing, if you think that you're improving someone's job and they're going to be able to be more efficient or enjoy it more, that's wonderful, but please keep in mind that you are interrupting and disrupting their now. And changing the now can be quite scary. So please be thoughtful about that. Show that value early. Show them that wow. Give them a chance to get excited, right? Give them some training to be excited. There was a CE I was on a panel with for DevConnect, and he had outright said, if folks feel they are being left behind in AI in my organization, that's a reflection on me as a people leader. And it was in primary industries. It was wicked cool, but it's that lens of people might just lean in, give them the chance to lean in, or they might say no thank you or something a little harsher. Number 3, stakeholders. Get a business leader in your organization ASAP. Like walk or run, don't walk to get that person. Leave now. I won't fault you. It's so important to have a business leader. That's the difference it makes for success. And then also, please don't hard launch your technical masterpiece, right? Massive expectations come with doing a hard launch that's 18 or 8 years out, and it really puts people on edge. And then since I have the stage, I'll pretty much take a step back outside of governance and say, please make big asks of your partners, your tech vendors like Databricks, like Deloitte and beyond. It is explicitly our job, our job to help you succeed. The worst case is that we say, oh, no thanks, can't help. But the best case is that we can surprise and delight you. For example, I've written internal communications plans for central government, brought over GIS specialists, thrown a phase gate pizza party to celebrate the wins. Like, it's really important. So give us that chance. So that is it from me for psychological safety and governance. Invite, inquire, and include. And being a data company, I will end with some data. Shout out to the 12 vegan and vegetarians that are here in this room. And if your name starts with the letter A or S, you are a hot commodity. And if you meet someone and you don't remember their name, guess with either of those 2 letters at the start. Thank you so much for being here for Tech Week and for having me.